and the Greater Dayton Area League of Women Voters presents Meet the Candidates, your chance to learn about the candidates running for office in the November election.
Hello, I'm Patty Skilkin. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Greater Dayton area. We're here today talking to 4 candidates for the Dayton City Commission. There are 2 open spots. We're going to ask them all some questions so you can get to know them a little bit better. Let me introduce them first, and they're each going to get 2 minutes to tell you a little bit about themselves. We're going to start with David Esrati, sitting over here to my right. David, tell us a little bit about why you're running for office and anything else you want us to know.
I'm running for Dayton City Commission because I think it's time that the city started operating in a way that makes people want to be your neighbor. That's really an important thing because we've lost quite a bit of population over the last 20 years. Instead of investing in our neighborhoods and our communities and the people of the city, the current leadership has spent an awful lot of money on what they call economic development. That's the basic difference between my brand city commission and the current city commission. I don't believe your tax dollars should be going to buy real estate or speculate on real estate. I believe it should be spent on parks, recreation, police, fire, basic city services, things that are critical to making our city a place people want to live in, want to invest in, want to move to. The key difference in my campaign and the endorsed campaign is that my campaign has limited itself to $10,000, and that's a lot less than what we saw spent in the mayoral race, where they spent $360,000 to get 7,500 votes. That works out to $50 a vote. After that, I decided I had to do something different. So instead of buying yard signs, I went and bought basketball nets. I've hung over 200 basketball nets like this around the city, actually 240 right now. I put up rims at Princeton Park so the kids can play full court basketball. I've tried to make a difference, and that's what I want to do when I'm your city commissioner. I want to make sure you get listened to. I want to make sure that you get the services delivered that you paid for, and that the government is open and honest and forward-thinking and doing things that are progressive, like getting Wi-Fi throughout the city, making sure every Dayton Public School student has an iPad or netbook to take home, and to make sure that everybody has equal access to the world around them and a chance for social mobility. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our next candidate is David Greer, also running for Dayton City Commission. David, you have 2 minutes to tell us about yourself.
All right. Hello, my name is David K. Greer. I was born and raised in Dayton, Ohio. Been here all my life. I'm a retired civil service employee from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base after 31 years. I have been the chairman of the Northwest Priority Board, which is a mechanism that allows for citizens to participate in all of the various departments of city government. In doing that endeavor of being chairman of the Northwest Priority Board, I have interfaced with the various departments since 2005. Those interfaces afforded me the experience of the interfaces between those entities and the citizens. Being the official spokesperson for the Northwest Priority Board, I field numerous calls during the day per week that individual citizens voice their concerns. I became very passionate about being that conduit for the citizens because my calling is to help people. So as I continue to be that conduit, I learned that there were certain dysfunctional elements associated with our government infrastructure, whether it's because of antiquated methodologies utilized to deliver the services, to interface and field calls from citizens. The bottom line is it created a disallegiance with the citizens in our government infrastructure. I feel that I can help change that to whereas it could be enhanced to be more user-friendly, keeping people first, and also to create the components of accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our third candidate for the office of Dayton City Commission is Jeffrey J. Mims. Jeffrey, it's your turn. 2 minutes to tell us about yourself.
Okay, hi, thank you very much. Hi, I'm Jeffrey J. Mims Jr. And I have probably more than 40 years of service to my community, to my country, to education, and a variety of programs who have designed to work with improving the quality of life for our young people. And those young people are now adults, as you see. As a 2-month-old baby born in Alabama, I realized at that point in time that I wanted to be in Dayton, Ohio. So I rented a car and I brought my parents to Dayton, Ohio at that point in time. And I found Dayton to be a great place to live, a great place to work. I've raised both of my children in Dayton. I was raised in Dayton. My university education and college education at Central State, Wright State, and also the University of Dayton. So I found Dayton to be the kind of place that I've loved. I've seen friends grow up and raise their families and do the same thing. As I look at the kind of issues that are affecting this city, that are minimizing some of its growth and keeping us from having the type of quality of life situations that we would like to have for all of our citizens, you know, I have some thoughts about how we make those things happen. As we look at creating the system for all of our young people who move to school to be kindergarten ready when they go to kindergarten, and we help them go through the very quality educational network system that we have with Sinclair, Wright State, UD, University of Dayton, and even Miami. It's very important that we look at those types of things and look at the assets that we have in Dayton, Ohio, and make those things work. Additionally, when we look at the potential job growth in Dayton, we have a very strong partner with the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, for example, in terms of technology and the issues that they have there. We have a great hospital network system, and I think in hospitals, probably in the medical area, is probably one of the biggest areas for job growth. So again, vote for Jeff Mims. We're going to make all these things work for the citizens of Dayton. Thank you.
Our last candidate for the office of Dayton City Commission is Joey Williams. Joey, your turn. 2 minutes to tell us about yourself.
Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Joey D. Williams. I'm currently a member of the Dayton City Commission, and I'm running for re-election. I'm asking for your support. It's really been a pleasure and an honor to serve the great city of Dayton, Ohio. I want to thank everybody for your past support, and again, I'm asking for your support as we move forward. I think most of you know a lot about me because I've run a number of times and have been, again, happy that I've been supported. But just to give a little quick background, I am a native Daytonian. I'm proud to have graduated from Dayton Public Schools, and I've gone on to schools at Central State University, where I graduated with a finance degree, and also have an MBA from Ohio State University. I've been an executive in the banking field for over 20 years, but my real passion is what I do in the community. So I'm really happy to be an elected official and to do things in the community, not only as an elected official, but also the things I like to do for young people, where I spend a lot of my free time coaching kids and basketball. I've coached football and baseball, and love what we do with our recreation departments and really want to be a part of that as we move forward. As a city commissioner, I do have a blueprint for a better Dayton, and I hope you get a chance to go to my website, joeydwilliams.com, and look at that closer. But in terms of the things that I'm passionate about, financial stability, that's something I spent an awful lot of time on. We want to make sure that we attract and retain jobs in the city of Dayton. We want to do things for our youth and our seniors to make it a better place. Regional cooperation is a must in our city. But the thing that I'm most passionate about moving forward is we need to continue to do things to reduce crime in our city. I think if we continue to work on reducing crime, and we can work with our police and organizations in the community, Dayton will continue to move forward in a very positive way. So please remember me, Joey Williams, on November the 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. All right, now we're going to get down to the meat and potatoes of our day. We're going to start with David Greer. You're going to get the first question, and you have 2 minutes to give us your answer. The first question is, do you feel that there will be a negative effect on Dayton from the recent elimination of the rollback and homestead exemption tax at the state level?
Yes, most definitely. Because our populace are pretty much elderly, and they count on that reduction as far as what that tax gives. And for it to be taken away, then they have to compensate from other areas as far as monetary is concerned. Groceries, they're constantly increasing. The bills, whether it's utilities, what have you, are constantly increasing. So with that being taken away from individuals, then it makes it harder for them to make ends meet. It definitely will have an adverse impact on those recipients of those dollars.
Thank you, David. Jeffrey, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Okay.
Do you feel that there will be a negative effect on Dayton from the recent elimination of the rollback and homestead exemption tax at state level?
Well, thank you for the question. Anytime you reduce resources that you had previously planned on, creates some degree of hardship. It does, however, in some cases force you to look at some additional options in terms of how you can make those things work. But when we have the challenges that we have in Dayton with the job losses over the years, through no fault of anyone here, of course, because of the issues with our plants closing, NCR leaving, and just a variety of things that we have, you look at the fact that the reason why citizens are in any particular city or any particular community, there are certain quality of life things that they want to have. And your police, your fire, your safety, your recreational issues, your situation in terms of education, all those things depend upon a balanced set of resources that allow you to invest and to improve in the quality of those situations so that you can help the citizens grow. So again, anytime you reduce resources, it creates an issue. The challenge though is how you look at how the city, in terms of how it's managed some of these very significant financial challenges, and still being able to provide some quality services to its citizens. And that gets to be the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Joey. Same question. Do you feel that there will be a negative effect on Dayton from the recent elimination of the rollback and homestead exemption tax at the state level?
Yeah, I think, knowing that Dayton has a very senior population, and there are a lot of folks here on fixed incomes, whenever we see things that attack those sources of revenue for folks on fixed incomes, certainly it has an impact. I think as a city commissioner, my job is to try to do what I can to still make the quality of life for everybody in Dayton high and at a very good level. But will it have an effect on the folks in Dayton and really throughout the state? Absolutely. And so we'll have to do what we can to continue to have a fine and a high quality of life. Thanks.
Thank you. David Esrati, same question. Do you feel that there'll be a negative effect on Dayton from the recent elimination of the rollback and homestead exemption tax at the state level?
Absolutely. There's been a war going on against the middle and especially the lower class from the state and from the federal government. When the state raised the sales tax, it has a devastating effect on those at the lowest income levels in our community. And in the meantime, the governor seems to have no problems giving tax breaks to large corporations, just like the current city commission gave a tax break to General Electric, one of the richest corporations in the world. We have to stop doing corporate welfare and start taking care of our citizens. That's what government is supposed to do. We've got to get out of the business of helping business and let business take care of itself. And if that sounds kind of right-wing conservative, it really isn't. Government's job is to take care of the people and provide services and infrastructure to service taxpayers. And I don't care if businesses pay more in taxes. That's not the problem. The problem is we are supposed to take care of those who are least able to take care of themselves. We should be judged by the quality of life of our poorest citizens, not by our richest. The 1% and the 0.5% have been running this country for a long time. They get to buy their policies by buying politicians off with large campaign contributions. We saw $360,000 spent in the primary between our two mayoral candidates. They could have offered to pay people to vote and still had money left over to put up new backboards and rims had they thought of different things to do. It's time for you to have a city commissioner that stands up to the state, calls our congressman down and says, look, this needs to stop, and solve the problems that government can solve. And that especially includes not raising taxes on people with fixed incomes. Thank you.
Thank you, David. This time we're going to start with Jeffrey. You're going to get the first crack at this question. Public opinion is that it's hard to do business in Dayton. Do you agree with that? And if so, what would you do to make it easier for businesses to come to Dayton?
You know, the question that I asked those who asked me that question once before, and of all the individuals who lived outside the city of Dayton, and I asked them, why are you living where you're living in terms of the quality of life opportunities that you have there? And what would you do to help us create those same kind of conditions that we have in Dayton? And as I mentioned a few moments ago about some of the quality of life issues that every thriving community has, police, fire, safety, that's the basic. They have a quality educational system. They have a quality leisure time, recreational activity, and they have jobs. Now, healthcare and some of the other kind of situations are also something very beneficial. So the way you do those things is you talk to those individuals who are in the city and help them understand that they deserve the same quality of life opportunities that individuals in surrounding communities have. And you look at how we can make those things happen. You can't do anything without collaboration. And I've looked at my background in the past, being in government relations for 25 years and being a teacher, and people have trusted me with their children for over 40 years. The issue has to be developing trust and looking at the amenities that you want to have in your community, and then looking at how you establish priorities in your budget to make those things happen. Sometimes making investments in the right areas is a hard choice, but if you make the investments in the right areas, then those situations can grow, and you begin to minimize some of the negative effects that you have as a result of the budget. But again, I'll have to say to you on a very clear basis, collaboration and talking to each other is a key foundational element in order to make good things happen for this city.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Joey, it's your turn. There is public opinion that thinks it's hard to do business in Dayton. Do you agree with that? And if so, what would you do to change it?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a good question, and I think that's really a two-part answer. We've been working very hard to try to improve the business climate in the city of Dayton, and quite frankly, I think we get pretty high marks when you talk to folks who have larger businesses, large employee businesses. Things are working well there. Where we still have challenges, and I'm committed to trying to work to improve that, is with our small businesses and with our entrepreneurs. Many years ago, we started something called the one-stop shop. And quite frankly, that hasn't really worked as well as we like, and we're continuing to work on that. In fact, I've heard people say that the one-stop shop is where you go and things stop. So we've got to obviously end that, and we have to do things better. Some of the things that we're doing is we're going to try to invest in some better information technology systems so we can help the zoning permit process. So there are a lot of things at work. We recognize where we have shortcomings, and we're committed to doing better in those areas. I think one area that will help us with business, though, is just trying to increase the number of folks who want to invest in Dayton, which is why I continue to say I'm so committed to us working collaboratively with organizations and individuals who want to improve things as it relates to crime. I think as we continue to see improving crime statistics, which we are seeing, but as we continue to see that momentum increase, we'll continue to see people want to invest in the city of Dayton, and things will get better. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. Let me see, who's next? David Esrati. Same question.
I got it. As the only small business person that is running for city commission, I can tell you unequivocally, it is difficult to start a business anywhere in the state of Ohio, not just the city of Dayton. But Dayton has its own problems. First off, we have to look at the different building codes, zoning codes. There shouldn't be differences between Dayton, Kettering, Miamisburg, Centerville. There shouldn't be different tax codes between all of them. For a small businessman to figure out where he has to pay income taxes is overly complicated and requires the use of an outside payroll service in many cases. When you've got problems, so many things that a small businessman has to take care of, adding government overhead is never easy. The process of starting a business is difficult enough. I work with a lot of small businesses, a lot of startups in my business, which is an advertising and marketing consulting firm. And we help them overcome a lot of these. But when you come down to actual why locate in the city of Dayton, Commissioner Williams is entirely right. The perception of safety of your investment is a major concern. And until we do things to solve our crime problems, until we start looking at different innovative ways, for instance, we'll charge a small business a fine for having too many false alarms, but we won't charge a house that's crime-ridden that has police there 22 times a year with a fine for each additional call. We have to take a hardline look at how we're going to talk about safety, security, and stability in our community. But the last thing is government needs to stay out of giving tax breaks to one business over another, because that makes it non-competitive. That's unfair advantage to one business versus another. That's not what your tax dollars are for, and I aim to stop that. It's time to give everybody equal opportunity, equal level playing field to start their own business and continue to run it. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And now the other David, David Greer, you get the same question. It's public opinion that it's tough to do business in Dayton. Do you agree with that? And if so, what would you do to change it?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to answer that question. Thank you. You know, it's, as Mr. Esrati stated, leveling the playing field is a must, because we have too many areas that are not conducive to investors coming in to start up businesses. Now, why is that? Well, we have a lot of real estate where there were factories that sit on them in their designated brown fields. And I mean, there's buildings that are sitting on this real estate, have been sitting for years. And that creates blight in neighborhoods and in communities. So investors look at that and they do not have the desire to come into that type of environment. We've got to develop the mechanism for cleaning up those types of environments, utilizing that real estate to whereas investors will come in. But we also have to be equitable as far as what we provide those investors, as far as the tax credits, as far as TIFs, you know, as far as those opportunities to be viable in those areas that they come in to set these businesses up. As in reference to the minority businesses, you know, it is an unfair disadvantage to a lot of minority businesses based on the equations that we're using. We've got to find a better way to enhance that equation.
Thank you. Our last question, Joey, you get to start this one. There's been a lot of talk lately about regionalism. What's your opinion of forming partnerships with other communities to eliminate duplication of services or to strengthen bargaining power for service contracts? Do you see shared services as fiscally beneficial? Why or why not?
Thank you. Another great question, and it's something that I've been really active on for the last number of years. I'm a member of an organization we have called One Dayton, where we are investigating that very question and trying to find ways that we can improve the relationships and better ways that the different cities can work together. You know, as has been stated, it's very difficult for businesses to try to decide what are the taxes in all these different cities. And you know, how can we cooperate? The zoning laws are different. So we have to find ways to work together, and I'm working very hard on that. As it relates to shared services, I'm very proud of the work the City of Dayton has done so far, though. We currently share service where we pick trash up for places like Riverside and the Jefferson. We have shared service as far as mutual aid agreements with our fire departments, police departments. So we find ways to work together. Are we doing enough? Quite frankly, in my opinion, no, we can do more. So that's why I'm working so actively to try to find ways that we can work closer, we can find ways to have greater regional cooperation, and I think the whole region, and particularly the City of Dayton, will benefit from those efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I've lost my place. Did I give everybody a chance? No, I didn't. Okay, sorry about that. David, it's your turn. What do you think about regionalism and bargaining for services as a group?
I definitely think that we need to update the laws in the state of Ohio, because working with the Northwest Ordinance from 1785 as the guidelines for, what's a county, what's a city, what's a township, what's a village, is kind of ridiculous these days. The fact that we have urban townships that are bigger than some cities where they can't charge income tax, and we have tax havens, is a major problem in a metropolitan area. The way that population is counted and viewed on a nationwide scale is problematic as well. People look very much at the difference between Louisville pre-regionalism, where they were a couple 100,000 like the city of Dayton, versus after, where they were 1 million plus. We need to look at how people perceive this area. Centerville does not appear on any map, any global map, but they all know where Dayton is. The Peace Accords, the Wright brothers, we have a reputation globally. The state needs to take the first step and say it's time to get rid of urban townships. That's just an absolute. The fact that we have a 2-tier tax level system in Miami Township right now, where the blue-collar workers at Kohl's and Kroger's and Five Guys are paying an income tax, and the white-collar people at Teradata and Thompson Hine don't pay an income tax, is criminal. We need to have a regional income tax that's level, that's distributed per capita, and end of story. We need to look at services where there makes no sense to have 28 police chiefs and 28 fire chiefs and have equipment that doesn't work totally interoperable. This has to stop. And the state of Ohio is just as guilty at allowing this to proceed. But I think once Dayton gets their act together, regionalism will be a lot simpler. So that's my goal. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Now the other David, David Greer, what's your opinion of forming partnerships with other communities to eliminate duplication of services or to strengthen bargaining power for service contracts? Do you see shared services as fiscally beneficial? Why or why not?
The federal government went to globalization in the early 90s. So that's how long that concept has been around. Regionalization, I feel, is inevitable because the competition factor, especially with the cuts of federal funding to the municipalities, is going to make it even more cumbersome for individual cities, townships, and villages to function at the level they need to function based on the needs of the people. So it has to be sold to the people first. They have to have a direct buy-in. It's not something that can be discussed and decided on by the select few. It has to definitely be inclusive of the people in order for it to move forward.
Thank you. I do this all the time, I'm sorry. Jeffrey, what do you think about regionalism and combining services?
Okay. Thank you. For the last year or so, I've been a part of Montgomery County, Ohio, and that's a group that's been taking a very hard look at the benefits associated with the whole regionalization process. And currently what we're experiencing is basically a bad business model. We currently have a really high level of overhead, if you will call it such, by having so many different city, townships, mayors, police chiefs, firemen, school systems, and the like. And the challenge has been to look at other cities that are working because of their regional process that they've developed and invested in for the last 10, 15 years. And someone mentioned Louisville, Kentucky, which is one of those. We looked at the annexing process that's happened in Cincinnati and what's happened in Columbus in terms of how they have grown their area so they can minimize the overhead cost that benefits the citizens as a whole. Our challenge is, how do we help individuals understand the benefits? And as they understand the benefits of those issues, it's easier to make those things happen. Now, one of the biggest challenges, of course, fire is a little bit easier, police is a little bit easier. Education is going to be a bugaboo. We have challenges, we've had issues with individuals over the years where I think, unfortunately, sometimes two major issues that cause some problems that sort of slow us up with regards to this. One of them, unfortunately, is classism. The other sometimes is racism. When we look at the political structure in terms of what we have, the primary power base of politics rests in the suburbs. Second, the rural areas, and then third, and unfortunately last, where we have the least amount of control or influence politically, are in the urban settings. Those individuals have to be key in making sure that they're talking about the things that benefit the citizens in the particular region and in their cities. And then their collaboration is really what's going to have to take place to make things happen. And citizens, we're going to have to hold them accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. We're going to end this with a brief statement, 2 minutes from each of you. Anything you'd like to say, some question you wish I'd asked and didn't. We're going to start with David Esrati. You have 2 minutes.
When I first moved to Dayton, I bought a house for $14,500. Back then, that seemed like a great deal. Now, unfortunately, it's about getting to be the average sale price. We need to see our community's property values stabilize and start going back up. We need to see people wanting to move into our community, looking at Dayton as a place they want to live. Now, that's happened in my neighborhood. Call it the South Park miracle, call it anything you want. But when we stopped caring so much about our historic homes and started looking at the people in our neighborhood and realizing that that was the value in our community, that's what people wanted. They wanted a sense of community. They wanted a good neighborhood. Our property values rose, and we're paying higher taxes for it, unfortunately. But when you see houses that were foreclosed on being bought and stripped, being restored and renovated, you know something's going on that's right. I want to bring that through the rest of the city. And the way we're going to have to do it is we're going to have to innovate. We're going to have to be creative. We're going to have to do things differently than what we've always done in the past. I don't believe that it should be your job to pay to tear down the bank's problem next door to you. I think the banks should pay for that. I don't think you should have to cut the grass at the empty lots in your neighborhood. I think the people who own the empty lots should. And as to the city buying up real estate as a land bank, that's a misappropriation of your tax dollars. That's taking your tax dollars, investing speculatively in real estate for which there is no return. That money was supposed to go for police and fire. That money was supposed to go for parks and rec. That's where we've made our mistake. We bought, just in the last few months, we spent $1 million plus on a building that we blew up for a company from out of town. That has to stop. David Esrati, November 5th.
Thank you, David. David Greer, you have 2 minutes to tell us whatever you want.
Thank you very much. I got involved in my neighborhood association because the people have become, disenfranchised and disconnected from our city government infrastructure. Unfortunately, the changes of time were not equal as far as keeping the people first. And people over the years felt that they were not cared about. My quest to become a city commissioner is to help to change that type of mindset within our government infrastructure. To change that type of mindset, we have to be more cognizant of the fact that there are needs of the citizens across our whole city that needs to be met outside of the box. Understanding that there has to be a business plan, if you will, in place in utilizing federal dollars, in operating an organization as cumbersome and large as our city government. There still has to be compassion and consideration for the people. The people have come up on the short end of the stick far too long. There's just too many negative things that a family has to endure, then have to endure what comes across as just outright don't care or just outright overlooking of those needs. We have to change the way we do business when it comes to our citizens. We have to change the way we do business as far as investing in our neighborhoods. Vote for David K. Greer, November the 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey, you've got
Hi.
2 minutes. Go for it.
Thank you very much. You know, many of you know me because I've been involved for, like I said, almost 40 years in teaching children, coaching children, mentoring children in different programs for more than 37 years. I spend a great deal of my time in the summer mentoring young people in life and in golf. It's just the air that I breathe, the things that I enjoy doing. Additionally, giving back and helping this community is basically the air that I breathe. You've known over the years, in terms of some of the kind of things that have happened in Dayton, that you may not know how involved I have been in working with those particular issues. In 1988, the $20 million grant with the Annie E. Casey Foundation, I was a part of that whole initiative to bring that to Dayton to address the needs of children and collaborate with all the social service agencies to address as many of the non-educational problems that children had before they came to school. In 1999-2000, being involved with the whole issue of building new schools throughout Ohio, not just in Dayton, but throughout Ohio. $630 million project that we invested in to see children in this community increase the the value of their property because of new schools in their community. And then recently, probably about 3 years ago, an additional $5 million with the Race to the Top grant application and working with our local school system. So I have a track record. I have a track record of success. I have a track record of involvement. And 2 of my major strengths will always be present. And one of those is advocacy for people, especially little people, and the fact that I'm a very, very strong, positive collaborator. So on November 5th, remember, Jeffrey J. Mims, Dayton City Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Joey, your turn. You have 2 minutes.
Thanks again. Again, my name is Joey Williams, again, running for re-election for Dayton City Commission, and I ask for your vote. One thing that I'd like to just close with is just to make sure that we talk about some of the positive things that are going on in the city. I'm very happy that we've had folks who want to invest in the city of Dayton, be that Midmark, CareSource, Premier Health. There's a lot of folks who are investing in Dayton, so there's some things that are going right. Now, do we have additional challenges? No question, and that's why I'm running for re-election. Although I do think we've made some positive strides, there's more work to be done, and I'm very energetic and excited to continue doing that. So I would like to ask for your support. If I'm re-elected, you can count on me to not only continue to provide the strong financial management that we've had in the city of Dayton, because I think most of you know cities like Detroit, Michigan, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and others have filed for bankruptcy, while we have in fact had increases in the way we've been looked at through bond ratings. But that aside, the thing that I'm really going to concentrate on moving forward is how we can increase and improve how we attack crime in our city. I believe if we can do a better job of reducing crime and working with our police officers and our police officers working with our community and having just a better overall relationship, we will see Dayton really strive as we move forward. So again, on November 5th, please remember me, Joey Williams, running for re-election, Dayton City Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joey. On behalf of the League, I want to thank all 4 of you for being here for this conversation. You know, the League's, our whole goal is to educate the voter and encourage everybody to participate in the democratic processes. By being here tonight, you've helped. I want to tell our audience also, the League of Women Voters is a completely nonpartisan organization. We never support or oppose a candidate or a party. We will be staffing a hotline starting October 14th. If you don't know where you're voting or what ID you need, call our hotline 228-4041 anytime after October 14th. See you at the polls.